Hello, and in this part 1 video I'm going to look at the topic of space travel. Now if you got this topic in your part 1 you would find it quite a difficult topic to talk about. So I've prepared some answers but also some useful vocabulary that can be used in other topics as well. Would you like to travel to outer space? Oh my goodness, that's not something I've ever considered before. My initial reaction is no. It's certainly not something on my bucket list. What would you do if you had that opportunity? If I was given this opportunity, I would politely decline. I'm not a lover of flying, so going in a rocket would be totally out of my comfort zone. Do you think it's necessary to see other planets? Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess it's necessary for scientists to explore other planets. However, I don't think they should become tourist attractions. Do you like travelling by plane? As I've said, I have a fear of flying, so I only tend to do it if necessary, such as long-haul flights to America. I would never use a domestic flight. I'd go by car or train. So let's take a look at some of the language that has been used in this topic. Now it's quite a specialised topic and it might not be one that you get asked, but there is some very useful language for other topics. If you're asked a question and you really haven't ever thought about that question before, which is the case for a lot of IELTS speaking questions nowadays because the questions are getting very obscure and strange, you can use something like this. Oh my goodness, that's not something I've ever considered before. So practice using it many times so it becomes a natural phrase for you to use. You can also say my initial reaction is no. So when you're asked something that you've never thought about before, what's your first response? Is it yes or no? My initial reaction means my first response, my first thought. This is a very useful phrase. It's quite idiomatic, complex, and would impress the IELTS examiner. So if something's on your bucket list, it means something you want to do. It comes from the idiomatic expression to kick the bucket, which means to die. So sometimes people have a bucket list and it means things that they want to do before they die. So you can say something is on your bucket list or it's not on your bucket list. So for example, going to India is on my bucket list. It means it's something I would like to do before I die. Here we've got some very good complex grammar. If I was given this opportunity, I would politely decline. So to politely decline means to say no in a polite way. Notice my use of I'm not a lover of instead of saying I don't like. And here's another very good expression that's quite idiomatic, out of my comfort zone. This means doing something that you don't feel comfortable with. It's something you've never done before. So for example, jumping out of an aeroplane or potholing is out of my comfort zone. So it's not something you would feel very comfortable doing. Here's another good filler phrase. Ooh, that's a tough one, meaning that's quite a difficult question. And then instead of saying I think, I guess. Tourist attractions, these are things that tourists are attracted to and they visit. So we call things like Buckingham Palace, the Eiffel Tower, the Taj Mahal. These are tourist attractions. When you're asked a question and you might have already said something, you can use the phrase as I've said or as previously mentioned. And to have a fear of something, instead of saying I don't like flying, I have a fear of flying. Long haul flights. This is useful for other topics. It's useful for writing. For example, if you're writing about the environment, you might talk about the damage to the ozone layer because of flying. Long haul flights are the long flights that are over 4 hours usually, compared to a domestic flight, which is a flight within your own country. So I hope you found the vocabulary in this topic useful. I personally feel that vocabulary such as out of my comfort zone, it's on my bucket list, are really useful for talking about holidays, visits, something you would like to do in the future. You can say X is on my bucket list, and it's a really impressive high-level phrase to use. Thank you very much for watching.